Good evening, everyone that is watching us at this time of the evening. Whether you're watching us in the evening, you are watching us in the morning, or it's in the Americas, or you are watching us in our Central African time, which is in Africa. But this is the show. This is the topical issue that we have on our hands, the Zimbabwean election. What is going on and what is on the ground? And there is a lot of things that talking points that we're going to be looking at today. And we're also wanting you to be part of this conversation by joining us on our platforms. You can contribute via WhatsApp. You can contribute on this platform as we are going to open the floor for everyone to join in. This is what is going to decide the 5 years of Zimbabwe and where the nation is going to go. But today I'm not alone. I am joined by Dr. Fedius Mteneri. He is a regular on Gambakwe, and we once had a show together. And I'm joined by him today as he is going to help us unpack what is currently happening in Zimbabwe and what the election is um, panning out in front of us. Dr. Fedius, how are you? Dr. Fedius, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. So, yes, good evening,
All right.
Jethro, JCTV Africa. And I am actually happy to be here. And good evening to all Zimbabweans, wherever they may be.
Oh, all right. Before we get into the conversation, I want us to play a clip, and then we can get context from what is been happening on the social media. Then I can get your comment on that. Don't know what's going on here. I think my clip is still loading, but I wanted to ask maybe before we get our clip up and running. The question is, do you think this election is free and fair, looking at the videos that have been circulating on social media and what other players or other observers have reported to the international media? Do you think that this election is free and fair and is as smooth as what the president and the vice president and other people from the ruling party have said, that this election has been smooth and peaceful?
Oh, okay, thank you very much, Jethro, for that question. I think the most important thing is to understand that an election, firstly, I want to thank you for inviting me to your channel here. And an election is not an event, and because it is an event, it is a process that kick-started. If one would want to be very economic with facts, about 6 months ago, and then the last 3 months when the president proclaimed the election date and it was gazetted, we became on the road to this election, and therefore everything that had to be done, one would have expected that
Yes.
it ensured that this election would be smooth and therefore free, fair, and credible. But if we look at the facts, we would realize that there are issues that still hang. First and foremost, we look at the delimitation report done by the Zimbabwe Election Commission, which in itself was controversial. And I know it has been taken to court, and we know that there are many issues with that report there. And one can only say um, that report was an attempt at gerrymandering, because the ZEC itself was not willing to be engaged on the issues that various stakeholders raised, for instance, as to how they delimited the wards. But not only that, one would also
Yes.
look at the very environment, the campaigning environment by the various political actors. And if I may go back, would look at the alternative. Have they been allowed to campaign unhindered? Have they been allowed space to carry out their political activities? And what would come to mind is that the only biggest or
Yes.
largest political party, which is the Triple C, we have seen, and it's there for everyone to see that they have been either banned, they have either been hindered, or their people have been arrested for trying to go on the campaign trail. So that puts a question mark on the credibility and the fairness of this election. Jethro, not only that, you would want to look at the issues of the voters' roll itself, which is a prerequisite for a free and
Yes.
fair election. And the voters' roll is necessary in as far as one needs, or political parties need to know, and the voters themselves need to know in which constituency they are. And considering that the recent delimitation map would change people's voting
Mm.
locations. But up till now, we know that ZEC had not produced that voters' roll.
Yes.
Again, if I can add, Jethro, you realize that the ZANU PF proxies, I mean, from
Yes.
hindsight wisdom, have been taking other political actors to court,
Yes.
as a way, one would say, to delay them in their campaign, programs. We would know that by now Kasukwere is not in this election, because he has been in a court battle with ZANU PF people. We know that Madam Valerio as well had to get onto the ballot through a court process. And above all, we know that the Triple C 12 in Bulawayo
Yes.
only were confirmed just below a month ago through a court process triggered by ZANU PF operatives. And I could mention a lot.
Yes.
And if you look at that, it
Yeah.
all puts a question mark on the credibility of our election. But even you asked me a question as to what is happening currently as we speak. I think today,
Yeah.
if the visuals that we have been exposed to, and the messages from the press conferences held by the major alternative, the Triple C, are anything to go by, we now know that
Yes.
FAS um, is uh, is I mean, in action, trying to make sure that they scare people, they threaten people, I mean, basically intimidating by writing their names, asking them who they have voted for. This is the information we are getting right now. And a coterie or a catalog of all these things obviously
Yes.
put a question mark on the credibility of this election, and whether this result would be a real reflection of what the people want. So for now, those are my comments there, Jethro, from what I can see.
One of the people that from SADC, Dr. Nevas Mumba from Zambia, has commented on the issue of the delay in Harare, where he was, observing as well, the delay in the availing of voting materials, which is only witnessed in urban areas. I was watching ZBC reporting, and most of the places that ZBC was reporting, including the places that vice president and the president voted, and the minister of information, Minister Monica Mtwangwa, all of those places that they've been to, where ZPC has been covering, they've never experienced the late arrival of materials, or commencing late in terms of voting. What do you make of such a development that we are witnessing in the urban areas? Maybe to add on top of that, are we going to see another disputed election that might cause bloodshed in the streets of Harare or in Zimbabwe?
Okay. On the question of whether there will be bloodshed or not, maybe one would want to be cautious about that, because what we are all praying for is for a peaceful election. But
Yes.
most definitely, up till late this afternoon, reports across the country are that there have been huge delays of voting materials, no ballot papers in various places in Harare. And we know that these, especially the urban areas, are where the majority of the support for the Triple C and the opposition are. And one can only say or think that this is a pre-planned, pre-arranged, and therefore organized strategy by ZANU-PF and the institutions that are working with it to make sure that the Triple C does not gain its votes there. And again, it will be worrying if even Dr. Nevas Mumba, who is a SADC representative, is to prematurely say that wherever they are, they have not experienced it. We would expect it from Maim Trangwa, because she's a spokesperson of ZANU-PF. But it is incumbent upon those who are observing to send researchers, to send other observers to go and check if the veracity of those claims. But from where we are and from the ground, we know that these facts are true. These are true things that are happening. And having said that, therefore, this in fact sets us on a path, on a very wrong path, on a repeated path of another disputed election, definitely. Because if election time was set to be between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., then what happens if others have lost 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of voting because of ZEC's own mismanagement? What it means is that unless ZEC has to revise the timings and has to allow for those voters who could not vote because of their own shortcomings to vote, then this election would be disputed. But again, there is a concern that, for instance, if they will proclaim that let the voting go into the night, we know that there has been a concern that night voting will then bring about issues of double voting, because the night is dark, and
Yes, yes.
and observing and checking diligently would be very difficult for those who would need to check. And therefore, we expect by tomorrow for ZEC to then give a moratorium in the places that were affected, in particular, that those people should be allowed to exercise their right to vote during the day. And again, even if that is to happen, it is already changing the complexion of the election. It is already feeding into the suspicions that people have always had that ZANU-PF has something up their sleeve to make sure that this is a rigged election. But again, ZANU-PF, and particularly the President Mnangagwa, they know that their time is up. Gauging by what the Triple C has done over the 1.5 years or so that they've been on the political scene, one can realize that there is no doubt Advocate Nelson Chamisa, from the crowds we have seen, is the choice of the people, and President Mnangagwa is totally unelectable. So that is why they are bringing in all these controversies, all these issues, which obviously put our election into question, and therefore controversial, and therefore one would say it's not free and fair.
All right. One would say that I was chatting to other ZANU-PF people, and they were telling me that, elections always, they have all these, misgivings in terms of how they are conducted. Whether you go anywhere in the world, you always find some irregularities here and there. But these are not to say that they disqualify the whole election. They are actually accusing Advocate Nelson Chamisa and Triple C of sensationalizing people and trying to rile up people to protest, or to think that because they are actually saying that because Nelson Chamisa and Triple C, they know that they've lost this election, so they are trying to sensationalize people so that they think that someone has stolen the election, yet in itself there is no election that has been stolen. But before we do that, I think our clip is up. Let's just play it so that we can get context, and I'll get back to you, Doctor.
Okay.
Right.
Vanhu vefazi vakaungana vari kumisa vanhu before polling station vachinyora mazita. Saka we went there to display the first desk. So that's what they did to me. And the master takwanisa kutora bhuku racho rinonyogwa mazita evanhu vanhu vasati vapinda papolling station. Saka hatizi kuti information iyi vanoida yei yefazi vanga vakatoisa chidesk chavo.
Mumwe wacho ndi mwana wamakuto anonzi Madovi uya.
Madovi Makuto nechichi chichanyora chachichinyora chinonzi Mauku Asa.
Hello. Tiri muhondo kuno.
Problem? You don't know. You have to ask them. Why? You have to ask them.
We're going to ask.
Yeah. Why? No. What's the problem? Yeah. It's 3 o'clock. We are waiting since morning. Guys. You don't do that. Guys, we are 300 kilometers from here. Voted. But we haven't voted. We are 7 kilometers from Harare. But it's still no voting.
This is it. There are having a lot of people here, and they are saying the ballot paper is finished from presidential to council. But I mean, actually, there are some it's nearly like 10,000 people outside. The cars, the people, thousands. They can say that but the paper is finished. So
there you have it. These are some of the visuals that we're getting of people that are voting up to the night. And if you could hear one of the people that was talking in the background, they were saying that the ballot paper is finished for the presidential. And that other man that was in the picture was actually talking to, I think is a SADC or whoever observer. They are saying that what is happening, we have been here and it's now 3 p.m. We have not yet voted. And you could see the frustration in that man's face. What do you make of that? And back to the question that I've asked to say, is it not trying to sensationalize the people so that they think that this election has been rigged?
Jethro, I think if these visuals can be verified to be true, and obviously we have had reports by people who are on the ground that this is exactly what is happening. There is no sensationalizing there. This exactly feeds into what the CCC has always said about the ZEC, that they should have been engaging in terms of the ballot papers, where are they being printed, how many have been printed, and now how on the day of election can, if it is true, one say that there are not enough ballot papers for the president, for presidential vote. Advocate Nelson Chamisa can only speak to the issues that are on the ground, and these are issues on the ground. These visuals, they are visuals. There's nothing you can do about them, and they are showing people who have been waiting and are frustrated. But all I can say is that it's unfortunate that those in our country that are mandated to run a free and fair election and to maintain peace are triggering an unknown effect in the country, because what you can see from what is happening there is that people are agitated, and ZEC, it's upon ZEC, it's upon the government to make sure that they quickly resolve this in a way that is amicable, because where we now will drift to is an unknown zone. Those people are definitely agitated because they cannot vote. How can one wait from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. and they haven't voted? So this again calls upon the observer missions, and particularly the SADC, to then step in and realize that besides what has been complained by the opposition as conditions which are not suitable for an environment of an election, they must see what is happening right now and step in and advise, or be geared to then tell the government of President Mnangagwa that these elections, they need to be corrected. I mean, there are issues that need to be corrected because these people have to vote. Look at those huge numbers that we are seeing in the visuals, who are obviously at a point of being disenfranchised. And we know that this is in the vicinity of Harare, a bastion of the CCC support. And it is obvious that ZANU-PF is planning on disenfranchising those people so that they can then have an edge in the election. So to answer your question directly, it is definitely not sensationalism there. They are speaking to the issues. And I think Triple C should be commended for having put their people, the polling agents, across the length and the breadth of the country, because we are seeing all these pictures across the country, which are evidence of what ZANU-PF is trying to do to rig this election. And definitely there is no doubt that there is a huge attempt to make sure that a huge majority of people are disenfranchised, especially those perceived to be in the in the opposition or to be in the alternative. And Jethro, this election once again is heading towards what we feared for, which is a rigged one, which is a disputed one, which will result in an illegitimate president once again.
Now, I think as we wrap up, I think there are some developments that we're going to see as the time progresses. Do you think the observer mission or the people, the powers that be, including even the African Union, are they going to act upon this? Are they going to say we have the Commonwealth observers that are there? We've got the SADC mission. I was actually checking on watching on a Twitter handle. Some of them, they are already at the airport. They seem to be, not proactive in a sense. What do you think that SADC will do? Or even right now, we are seeing people that are at the BRICS summit, including the President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. Do you think they are going to act upon this, or it's just going to continue as usual, as we have known it, that there will, is probably what Julius Malema said, that it is like an old people's club. They are not going to call each other out.
Well, there are two things that I can pick out. One, there is fatigue in the region, not only in the SADC region, but on the African continent, on the Zimbabwean problem, which is seemed to protract from as early as 2000. Of course, there was active engagement between 2008 and 2013. And there is total fatigue about Zimbabwe from the regional actors. But secondly, I think, as you point out, in Africa, where even the regimes that are there are also facing their own controversies, SADC has been viewed as a club of comrades in similar conditions, comrades who are coming from the liberation struggle and therefore who want to protect each other. So this, a combination of these factors can tell you that they are basically indisposed to really focus on Zimbabwe. I mean, South Africa naturally is the country that we expect to be very much focused on Zimbabwe, because it is the one that is mostly or directly affected by what happens in Zimbabwe. But if you look at President Ramaphosa himself, he is in a pit of his own. He is facing Pala, which weakens his political position in South Africa. He has got his own political battles that face him, so much so that he doesn't want more enemies around him in terms of the neighbors. But not only that, the recent ANC conference elected people like in powerful positions, like the Secretary General of the ANC, that is Fikile Mbalula, who definitely is not in touch with the day-to-day struggles of Zimbabweans, who has taken us back to the Mbeki era, in which they had this hear no evil, see no evil in Zimbabwe. So once South Africa is detached from what is happening in Zimbabwe, you cannot expect any other country in the region to then step in. Botswana's president has clearly said, inina president Mnangagwa tinenge ushamwari hwedu unenge bhande nebhurugwa. I mean, Zambia, the Zambian president probably is trying to find his footing within the region. Malawi, which experienced a change, we have not seen them on the regional platform to show that they are a power to reckon with. I mean, DRC, Tshisekedi, who has been leading the African, I mean, SADC, who has been leading SADC, has not also been vocal. I mean, look, a whole combination of these things show you that the region does not have the appetite to involve themselves in the issues in Zimbabwe. But the unfortunate news that we have to deliver to them is that they will only wake up when things have gone down south in Zimbabwe. Because what is happening in Zimbabwe right now is that the institutions, the government is agitating people, and they're agitating towards a very, very I mean, an unwanted situation where people would try to revolt, and it would be regrettable that the region would not take they would not take action now. But also, Jethro, you must understand that if one was to expect a free and fair election in Zimbabwe, it would be a pipe dream. Here is a government that entered through a coup, and basically which is militarily run. ZANU-PF was long captured by the army, and for you to expect the army to hand over power as easily as that, it will be a fallacy. But what is more worrying is the fact that in our eyes, right in front of us, people are being disenfranchised. People are being refused to vote. For 7 hours, people are waiting for a ballot paper and they cannot vote. This is worse than the Smith regime, and therefore would have called upon the regional powers, I mean the regional grouping SADC and African Union to immediately step in.
Maybe your last words, Doctor. This, according to some people that I've spoken to, and they are saying that this could be a defining moment for Triple C if they lose this election. Do you think that because of the general consensus that is there, the general generational gap that is there, whereby people that are relatable to what Triple C, because remember they started out as MDC and then you know what happened with the court cases and everything. Do you think that we are going to have disenfranchised people come 2028, given that we might see ZANU-PF rigging successfully this election and Triple C being out there in the cold? Are we going to see people disenfranchising and saying this is not going to work? Maybe in your closing, what do you think? What do you foresee happening in terms of our voters in Zimbabwe or the people in general? Are we going to see people revolting or saying enough is enough?
Most definitely, this is not going to be your usual election. And people have anticipated that ZANU-PF will do this. We have seen gradually how the political terrain of Zimbabwe has become more, not only polarized, but more, for a lack of a better word, more poised to you know, to
A one-party state.
antagonism. No, antagonism, I should say. We have seen in 2008 there were fractions on the streets, people beating each other. We have seen in 2018 when people came out when the result was delayed, and then the soldiers were called in. And that's why I'm saying, in this instance, we are already poised towards a very unsavory situation, because I doubt it that the majority of the electorate who are between 18 and 35, and we know that they are about 70%, and we know that their gripe with the current government is the issue of the economy, the lack of jobs, the lack of proper livelihood, and trust me, it is the younger people, and these younger people, I think they are not going to watch this happen, and it would be said, however, that our government or those who are in the responsibility to make sure that they put up a credible election which can bring peace and development to the country are failing to do so, for the mere fact that they want to hang on to power, are going to let the country descend into this. But my own prediction is that the alternative, particularly the Triple C, has done enough mobilization, and that they are on the road to victory, and that ZANU-PF and is seeing the writing on the wall, and that they are trying by all means possible to stop what the will of the people is. But whether they will be able to subvert that will of the people, one is going to see by the events in the next 5 days. And I'm sure me and you will be here to discuss what will happen. But our prayer is that let sense sink into our administrators and realize that this is just a political competition, which is enshrined in our constitution, and it's just another 5 years. We would be in another election. ZANU-PF has to go back and self-correct on issues that they have failed, and come into another election in 2028. And if really they have got they are loved by people, they can still be voted for. And this whole idea that they must they have the entitlement to the country because they fought the liberation struggle, I think is now unsustainable. And from now henceforth, we are going to see a new wave of a generation that will try to or that is going to demand what it deserves, a generation that is going to claim by whatever means their right to their country. And this election is a huge test case for Zimbabwe. And I can only pray that those who are running this election and those who are observing, particularly in the SADC, will come in to make sense and put sense in the people that are supposed to be responsible for this election. Thank you, Jetro.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your input into this discussion. Obviously, it's an ongoing discussion to all our viewers and listeners on this platform. I would like to say thank you. How do people get in touch with you, Doctor, if they want to know more about you?
Okay, I am available on my social media, just my name, Dr. Fedius Muteneri. They can get me through Facebook, and on my number, which is 71277. You have it, you can share it. I don't mind. You can share it on your platform, 71277 and yeah, I'm available right there, Jethro. Thank you very much for inviting me to your channel.
All right, I highly appreciate Hopefully, we are going to watch uh, uh, as the election is going to be as the people are going to start counting. I think tonight already the voting has already closed in some places, and counting is beginning. So we're going to watch all those events, and hopefully we're going to talk about as they pan out to every one of us. But once again, thank you so much for coming through to the show.
Thank you very much, Chetro. Thank you.
All right. That was Dr. Fedius Mteneri giving us his opinion on what is happening on the election in Zimbabwe. But what do you make of what is happening already in the videos that we have shown you and the videos that we are seeing on social media, and what the president of Citizens Coalition for Change has said about this election? It is very painful to those that have been waiting for many years, hoping that this election is going to be different. But we are actually seeing that the same old is playing out in our eyes. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please give us your thoughts on what is your reaction. And have you also voted? Please give us also your feedback. If you are you have not yet voted, you have also been affected, please get in touch with us. I'm going to put the numbers that you can get in touch with us. If you have got videos of what has been happening during the day, please send that video to this number that I'm putting on the screen. It's +27 73638264. That number, that WhatsApp number, just send your video and we can be able to publish it on our platforms, whether it's on Facebook or it's on YouTube, so that people can know. How does that help? Because this information, it can also be used in the court of law to verify that this was happening in such particular place, this was happening in such particular place, and that might also change the complexion of this game. So that information is very, very important to us, whether you have seen the rigging process happening, whether you have seen any staffing, you have seen people being bussed, whatever is happening, please let that information to us so that we can publish it for the sake of public interest. But from me, I would like to say thank you, and also special thanks to Dr. Fedius Mteneri for coming through to the show. And you also, our viewers. On the other hand, I would like also you to support this channel, JCTV Africa, so that we can continue giving you updates and posts. I have posted on the description in this broadcast the link that you can use if you want to send your money through PayPal to support us, so that we can continue, because getting this information and also being able to broadcast to you, it costs us money and it costs us time. So we would love you to be part of that, and you can support us. We also need to be able to reach out to other people, and it costs us money. So please get in touch with us. The link is there on the description. You can follow it, and we can actually make your donation on that platform. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to JCTV Africa. I'll see you on the next video. This is me saying good night and have a wonderful week.